When I was just an intern, there was a terminal patient in our ICU. He'd been clinging to life for weeks, his frail body hanging on by a thread. Every single day, his wife of 60 years would come to visit, spending hours by his bedside. She'd wipe his face gently and whisper to him as if her words alone could bring him back. Then, one day, his blood pressure dropped dangerously low, despite being on the highest dose of medication we could give him. It was clear that the end was near. We called his family, urging them to come and say their final goodbyes. But just before his wife could arrive, he passed away. When she finally walked into the room, her face crumpled in despair. She hadn't been able to say goodbye. I could see the heartbreak etched in her eyes, and something inside me just couldn't let it end like that. So I did something I'm still not sure was right. I reached under the blanket and grabbed an ECG lead. I started flicking it, just enough to create a trace on the monitor. I turned to her and said, "Look, he still has a heartbeat, but it's slow. He might be able to hear you." She looked at the monitor, hope rekindling in her eyes. Then she leaned in close and started talking to him. She told him he was the best husband she could have ever asked for. She reminisced about the first time they met, how handsome he looked in that grey suit. She told him how happy he had made her and how she would see him again soon. After a few moments, I stopped flicking the electrode. I looked at her and said, "He's gone now." She nodded, tears streaming down her face, but there was a hint of peace in her expression. She thanked me, saying she believed he had been holding on just long enough to hear her final words. To this day, I'm still not sure if what I did was right. But in that moment, it felt like the only thing I could do.